You probably recognize her from the infamous Robin Thicke Blurred Lines music video, which I recently rewatched for the filming of this video in the year of our Lord 2020, and wow. My name's Leija, I'm a real-life lawyer, and I'm on a mission to demystify the law and how it affects your everyday life. Today I want to talk to you about Emily Ratajkowski. She recently wrote an essay for The Cut that has gained a lot of traction, and it's about the use of pictures of her without her permission and trying to regain control of her image. So how does copyright law work when you are the subject of a photograph? What legal recourse really is there for you to regain control over your image? Let's talk about it. The usual disclaimer: I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer. Nothing that I say should be construed as legal advice, and you should always seek the advice of a licensed attorney if you have any legal questions. If you find this video informational or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. Let's get started. Alright, so who is Emily Ratajkowski? She's a model. She's also an actress. Turns out apparently she was in 2 episodes of iCarly. You probably recognize her from the infamous Robin Thicke Blurred Lines music video, which I recently rewatched for the filming of this video in the year of our Lord 2020, and wow. It must be wild to need to steal a Marvin Gaye song and have 3 topless women in your music video just to distract from how mediocre you are. Oh, I guess in the end you could say she won. She has like 26 million Instagram followers, and if you look at Robin Thicke, he has less than 1 million, like way less than 1 million. He also has $5 million less because of that infringement lawsuit he lost against the Marvin Gaye estate, but I digress. So read the essay. I think it's really important. I think it's really vulnerable and brave of her to have written it. It starts out with talking about a lawsuit that she's currently in that a paparazzi brought against her for the use of one of his photos that she posted on her Instagram. Basically, it was her walking down the street with this big jar of flowers in front of her face, and she posted on her Instagram with the caption, "Mood forever." Basically, I think she was frustrated with paparazzi taking her photo, and so she put this in front of her face so they couldn't see her. The essay goes on to talk about an artist who took her Instagram posts that he had commented on and turned that into art. I don't fully comprehend it. Modern art is not my thing. I think it's mostly bullshit, but that's my own business. This is apparently a famous artist, and he did art by taking the Instagram, the photo, and his comment and putting it on a canvas and putting it onto the wall. And her and her boyfriend at the time ended up splitting the cost of one and bought one for $80,000. So she purchased her own image for $80,000, and then she was also gifted like a smaller mock-up version of it by the artist, which she had to ask for. Then when her and her boyfriend broke up, her boyfriend took that smaller mock-up, and when she tried to get it back from him, he charged her 10 grand for it. Then after that, some of her nude images were leaked on 4chan when a bunch of celebrity nudes were leaked a few years ago, if you'll recall that. And finally, it mainly goes into her experience with this photographer that she had when she was 20 and really at the beginning of her modeling career. Allegedly, according to her story, she was young, he gave her a bunch of alcohol, took a lot of nude Polaroids of her, allegedly sexually assaulted her, and then took those Polaroids and has been benefiting from them ever since. She's like 28 or 29 now, so that was almost a decade ago. He posted them on his Instagram, he put them up on gallery walls, and he's printed 3 books so far, just titled Emily Ratajkowski, with those images in them. He claims that she signed a release. Her and her agent at the time claim they never signed anything, but her lawyer has told her, according to this essay, that a lawsuit would be fruitless because at best she could get back royalties from the books and get the books themselves, but the images are out there forever and she can't get them back. So the whole essay is basically just a summation of all of the times that she has had to fight to retrieve her image and how fruitless that battle has been. So let's talk about the legal recourse that she might have and what you can do if you are the subject of images that have been taken and used in ways that you're not comfortable with. So first, the lawsuit regarding the paparazzi photo of Emily with the flowers. That's a copyright infringement case. So the paparazzi is claiming that she took that image without his consent and used it. Again, I've talked about this in past videos in my IP Basics video, for example. I'll link it right here. But when you take a photo, you own the copyrights in that photo immediately. So if anyone uses it without your permission, you can sue them for infringement if you've registered it with the US Copyright Office. Now, if you have an Instagram, you commit copyright infringement every single day. Every time you share a photo without explicit permission from the photographer or the artist, you are committing copyright infringement. However, you're probably not going to be sued for it because lawyers' fees are expensive. But there have been a growing number of paparazzi lawsuits coming against celebrities who have been retweeting or posting on Instagram paparazzi photos of themselves. Why? Because it's technically infringement and these celebrities have money, so paparazzi know they can probably get something nothing out of them. There's one specific attorney in New York that has been bringing more and more of these cases, and a judge actually called him a copyright troll, like in court or in an opinion or something. So like, it's a lucrative business to be bringing these lawsuits. Likely a lot of those lawsuits will settle out of court if it is a more clear-cut copyright infringement case. However, this suit is still in court and they're actually battling it out. They've reached what's called the summary judgment stage, which means that the parties are asking the judge to make a determination based on all of the evidence before him or her. And if the judge does make a determination, it means that the judge is looking at all of the evidence and says a jury could only come out one way on this case, so we're not even going to send it to a jury. I'm just going to find for this party because it's so obvious that they're the ones that should win, I guess, a matter of law. So Emily's team has moved for summary judgment, saying we've proven that the other side cannot win this case, and so we want summary judgment. They submitted that on September 9th, so that's still pending. And they made a number of arguments. First, they say that the photo was so unoriginal that it doesn't even reach the level of being able to have copyrights. That seems like a tenuous argument. Like, even the slightest modicum of creativity counts when it comes to copyright. Like, if you're standing and you're looking at the Eiffel Tower, someone's standing shoulder to shoulder with you, also looking at the Eiffel Tower, and you both have a camera and you both click at the exact same moment, you own the copyright in that photo. They own the copyright in that photo, even though they're the exact photo almost. And there's already a million other photos of the Eiffel Tower that exist in the world. You still own your copyrights in that one photo, even though it looks the same as everyone else's. So seems like a tenuous argument, but you know, worth bringing probably. But then apparently the paparazzi registered his copyrights with the US Copyright Office in these photos, but the date on the registration is something like 3 days after she posted that photo on her Instagram. So the registration and his claim that she stole his photo aren't lining up. And he took multiple photos of her in that same position at that day, kind of in quick succession. And there were a number of other paparazzi around taking the same photo as him. So even though he might have reached the level of creativity necessary to have copyrights, he's not proving that he is the actual owner of that photo in question, and that it's that photo that she stole and put on her Instagram. Alternatively, they're arguing that Emily's use of the photo was fair use because she transformed the image when she added the words "mood forever" to it, and it was a commentary on her frustration with paparazzi and being constantly followed and photographed. Plus, they argue that he couldn't have made any money off the photo anyway because there's no way to tell that it was actually Emily Ratajkowski on the other side of that vase of flowers, so he didn't have any actual damages, and Emily didn't profit from the use of the photo in any way, so they're saying that he doesn't deserve any damages. This is why copyright cases can be a little tenuous. It's always about the details with them. In this case, is still pending. It's going to depend on what the judge decides, but if they do decide in her favor, it's not going to be because she's the subject of the photo. The paparazzi owns the copyright. Just because it's her in the photo does not mean that she has any recourse in the copyright system because she's the subject. The recourse you do have if someone takes a photo of you and uses it for their benefit is actually under the purview of privacy law. So what are the basics here? The long and short of it is, if you are out in public and someone takes a photo of you, you do not have any expectation of privacy. You're out in public, they see you, they take a photo of you. You don't have to sign a model release, you don't have to do anything. They can use it because you were out in public, and they could take that photo because you didn't have an expectation of not getting your photo taken. If you didn't want to take it, you should have stayed inside. That's the theory. However, there are two torts. You'll remember that a tort is a civil action when someone hurts you or wrongs you in some way. Two torts called the tort of appropriation and the tort of the right of publicity that may work in your favor if someone has taken your photo and used it for their benefit. So if someone takes your photo and uses it for their own benefit, usually their financial benefit, without your permission, that's the tort of appropriation. However, there's this pesky little thing called the First Amendment. So much like the Fair Use Rule in the Copyright Act, if they take your photo and then use it for news or commentary, that's probably protected under the First Amendment right of free expression. Something like a tabloid, for example, qualifies as news or commentary. Also, if someone takes the photo and does something artistic with it, adds artistic value to it in some way, that's also protected under the First Amendment. So that's appropriation. The right of publicity is very similar, but it can only be used against people who have derived specifically a commercial benefit from the use of a person's likeness, and the right of publicity survives death. So this is more often used by the estates of famous people like Prince or Elvis or Marilyn Monroe or something to sue people who then sell merchandise with their face on it without permission, for example. However, again, that pesky First Amendment right of expression does protect against some of these lawsuits. So for example, that artist painting of her Instagram that he commented on, probably protected under the First Amendment, even though it's her image and he's using it for clearly his own personal benefit. But then you get to the photographer who took those Polaroids of her and then used them for his own benefit. That seems a bit more tenuous to me. As far as I understand it, he took the Polaroids and then just displayed them. I'm not sure where that falls in terms of the creative expression that's protected under the First Amendment. He clearly derived commercial benefit from them. He not only posted them on his Instagram, but he made galleries of them and he sold books with them. Is compiling those images into a book, is that creative enough to be protected under the First Amendment? Maybe. So if she were to sue him for something like appropriation of her likeness, it probably would be protected under the First Amendment. And that's kind of her only recourse because he's the copyright owner of these images. He took them. He owns it and he can do what he wants with them. If she were to sue him and win a lawsuit for appropriation, for example, the most she could get would be the benefit that he derived from the use of her images. So whatever money he made from those gallery showings and the selling of the Polaroids and the books. That's not nothing, certainly, but it's not going to prevent the photos from being out there in the world. They exist now and they're probably floating around on the internet, and there's not much that she can do about that. So I encourage you to read that essay from The Cut and think about this in terms of what happens when your photos of you go out into the internet. If you allow someone to take your photo, know that they can do a lot with that unless you sign a contract that limits them in their ability to use it. If you're taking photos of yourself, however, you do own the copyright in that. So your recourse could come from the Copyright Act itself. All you'd have to do is have the money to hire a lawyer. So I think this is a really important commentary on our system and on the copyright system, but also on our judicial system and how it's changing due to the internet and the proliferation of technology and the ability of photos to be alive forever on the internet. There's not much recourse. In a lot of ways, your image is no longer yours when it gets out onto the internet. So that's something to think about, and it's something that our legal system just hasn't caught up with. So thank you for joining me today. Comment below if you have any questions or any ideas for future videos. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. Thanks so much for joining. Bye-bye!